We want to go now to Khairi Abaza. He is a senior fellow with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. He's joining us now. So, Khairi, what are you seeing? We're watching live shots of Tahrir Square.
Well, it's basically a reset of the transition period that started after the departure of Mubarak. But this time the crowd are feeling that they are getting their country back, because previously it was from the authoritarian rule of Mubarak into a new sort of authoritarian tendencies of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Khairi, I'm curious, what happened when the deadline, the military deadline hit? What happened in the streets then? And also, what happened after you were listening to the military speak?
Yes, it was expected and anticipated in a way, because that was the only way for the military to intervene. The military cannot rule directly. And it was to reset the transition. So the crowd, this is what they were expecting, and this is what they wanted, and this is what they got. Now we will see how the Islamists will react to this, but they are included in this transition as partners.
We were initially hearing that in Cairo there were already tanks heading onto the streets, armored vehicles moving through the streets. Have you seen any of that?
Yes, there is a strong military presence, and it's to safeguard the country from any violence that could happen. And it's also a reminder that the Egyptian military is here, and that they are in control, and that they are here to protect the people.
Yeah, because 23 people... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to mention 23 people were killed overnight in Cairo, both those in favor of Morsi and those against. So violence always is an issue that people have to be concerned about. So the people that you're talking to, I mean, are they more scared of what's to come because it's the unknown, or are they excited?
Overall, people are excited because they saw no prospect for a better future with under the Muslim Brotherhood. The economic situation was deteriorating. There is electricity problem. It's something, electricity shortages that Egyptians didn't see in many years. There is fuel. There are fuel problems. So at least now there is a new sense of hope that the country will be better managed.
You know, it's still yet to be determined what technically Hosni Mubarak's legacy will be. I'm curious, though, what, Mohammed Morsi's legacy will be in light of this.
Well, Mohammed Morsi's legacy is the most important thing. It's a reminder that no single faction can rule Egypt. Egypt has to be ruled by consensus. It is a pluralistic country and society, and it has to be ruled by consensus. So any faction or any political party or movement who wants to just take a monopoly of politics and the state institution, this will not work. It will backfire. And this is, I think, the most important lesson that we have to understand from the legacy of Mohammed Morsi.
We were talking to another journalist, and he was saying in Cairo, in the center of Egypt, people are secular, the majority are secular, but on the outskirts, a lot of them do support the Muslim Brotherhood. So if and when the election should happen, that you might still see a lot of support for the Muslim Brotherhood. Do we have any idea at this point what could happen to Mohammed Morsi?
Well, first we have to highlight a very important point. There is a lot of attention being given to Cairo. In fact, most of the Egyptian cities are also in rebellion, and it's in the provincial towns where people were most against the Muslim Brotherhood. And we should not forget that during the presidential elections, the home province of Mohammed Morsi, Sharqiya, voted for Shafiq, and the Dakahliya, the home province of Khairi Abaza, the deputy leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, they also voted for Shafiq predominantly. So it is not, I don't think it is correct to assume that Cairo is secular and the countryside is religious. Because it's not a matter of religious versus secular. It's a matter of way of government and inclusive government.
That's interesting, because we were just talking to one reporter who kind of prefaced it the opposite, saying that it is Islamist against secularism, and that's what we're seeing right now. So you disagree?
I completely disagree with this, because Egyptians, as everybody else, they think of their interests, they think of job, they think of the price of bread, they think of... somebody coming and saying, vote for God, it's not enough. And as proven, otherwise we wouldn't have millions of Egyptians going throughout the country, not only in Cairo and Alexandria, but it's throughout Egypt. And we have to look at the provincial towns, and we have also to look at the voting patterns in the provinces, and then we will see the real picture. So I do not agree with what was said, and it does not reflect even the votes of presidential elections or the uprising, the current uprising in the provinces.
Khairi, you are with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies in Cairo. We were listening to the military speak just moments ago, not calling this a coup, just saying that they are going to step in to support the protesters, and they're saying it's not a coup because they don't want to run things. They say they're doing it in the best interest of Egypt. So who will be running things right now?
For the time being, the head of the Supreme Constitutional Court in a temporary manner, but the country has to be ruled in a collegial way between the different political movements. It's still unclear whether we're going to have a cabinet of technocrats or a coalition government. But in any shape or form, there should be a political cover for this transition that should, and I think it will, include the Islamists as well.
And when Hosni Mubarak was ousted, we saw a similar pattern such as this. So how do you think things will change in terms of how the progress will run towards the elections? Do you think they'll be exactly the same, or they've learned from what happened last time and things might be different?
It's going to be different, because last time, from the very beginning, the entire opposition, with the exception of the Islamists, wanted first to level the political field, to agree on a constitution, and later on we would have elections, presidential and legislative. The Islamists, on the other hand, last time they went with the military. They prepared early elections where nobody was ready, and they hijacked the process. They drafted the constitution by their own. So from the very beginning, if we look at the way the opposition reacted to the previous transition, it was leading to what we see today. It was predicted and expected that it's going to fail, and it did. It did, because elections were free, but they were not fair.
And so what will change this time to make sure that they're fair?
This time is to have an all-inclusive process, not only one faction with the military, and to prepare the country with an inclusive constitution, a pluralistic constitution in which the Copts would take part, in which women would take part, in which the seculars with all their different political orientations would take part, and then we can prepare the country for elections. Previously, it was only one faction that set the transition, set the dates for elections, set the scenario, and then drafted the constitution and had it approved in a very dubious referendum. And it was since the issue of the constitution last November that this uprising started building up.
And Khairi, given...
So this time... Yeah.
Well, given that you work for the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, I'm curious how you think the countries, the neighboring countries, and especially those that were also involved in the Arab Spring, will be watching what's going on in Cairo right now.
It shows the people's power, and it's a signal to the neighboring countries that any faction who wants to hijack power will, in fact, be stopped by popular will. And we have seen in Egypt, even if there were elections, even elections that were free but not fair, even if there was a process, even if a new constitution was done, as long as everybody is not on board, it's not going to work.
All right, Khairi, I want to thank you so much. Go ahead.
That at the end, it's really democracy that will prevail.
All right, and I think we're watching that happen in action. Thank you so much, Khairi, for your insight. Khairi Abaza, a senior fellow with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies in Cairo.